I'm real excited for this panel because I think this may be the first time in history somebody's put on a panel like this of competition all together. So thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Katie, for being here. Let's start with you, Kevin. What does healthy competition look like in this industry?
So at Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, we're founded in '01, and Paul Rozo and Robert Holliday are our founders. And I've been at the company about 14 and a half years as a partner for a little over 9. And then we have Gary Malice, who runs Cap Markets. We have a saying, built by originators for originators. And I think that goes beyond channels, and it's about serving the originator. What is the best thing for them? And it's different for different people at different times in their career, different locations. There are different models. And so, you know, Greg always asks me, he's like, how are you here being part of a 3-channel lender? And the reality is, originators, if you serve them at any level, then that's what counts. We're pro sales up here. You said it earlier, we're pro sales. They know the business better than anybody. I mean, I was talking to Mo and Karina earlier. They know guidelines better than most underwriters. I mean, originators really know their stuff. And so some of us have worked at banks, some work at IMBs, some only broker. So we just put the originator first. We just put it out there. You act like Switzerland. You get along with everybody. It's all good. So that's how I'd answer that question.
Chris?
I think competition to me makes you better. Like watching Eddie do something, or Kevin do something, or Greg or Katie, like, or even the other companies, and you're like, okay, I got to be better. And you know, I think last year, a year before, really dived into that question I was asking, challenged, because I was pouting. And I was sitting around pouting about the competition of something and drama, and I'm like, wait a minute. What if I looked at it that this could actually make me get better? And for us at Windsor, we're just thinking about, okay, there's a point of paying attention to the competition, and there's a point to staying in your lane. And I think the combination, two of them, is how we look at it.
Greg?
I'm glad to be here, as I think the only lender only on this stage, not a bank. You know, I don't have multiple channels. We just do loans on the lending side. So thank you for not beating me up. But I can say that I'm happy that the brokers are better. Rhetoric is gone. You know, it's unnecessary. I'm happy that Jonathan is has the reins in his hands, and brokers are best is fine. Competition is what you make of it. It's how you put it out there in the ether. And to me, the competition is for the consumer. It's not against ourselves. So I know we're going to get into this a little bit later, but I would say that there is a fine line. Like, we need to support one another regardless of the channel, and realize that we're accomplishing something so incredible, right? We have this gift of being able to put people in houses. What a dream that is for us and people on the other end. And anything that creates noise around that is counterproductive. And so I'm excited about what's happening on the broker side. You know, I'm not sure if you're going to get into this, so I'll just say this now. I mean, I'm really intrigued. I feel like this time, unlike the other times where the pendulum has swung, it's been lender in vogue, then broker in vogue, and then back and forth. I think this time the seesaw's over. I think this is going to settle somewhere in the middle, where this group here is going to be 40, 50% eventually, which is going to hurt us on our side. But again, it's like so many other people said, Eddie, in your message, what are you going to do about it? How much harder are you going to work to distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack? And to me, the people that are willing to do that work that you and Mike talked about are going to be the ones that win.
Katie?
Thank you. So I've seen competition evolve in a lot of really interesting ways in the broker channel over the last 5 or 6 years. And throughout the last 6 months, I've made a lot of changes myself. But one of the things that really drew me to the current team that I think also resonates with everyone on this stage is something that the team at Rocket Pro says, and it's competitor aware, client obsessed. And there's a difference between obsessing over your competition to the point that it creates your own failure and maintaining that true North Star that at the end of the day, we have people that we have to serve. And I think the thing that makes competition fun is that teams can step out onto the field behind us at any given Sunday and kick the crap out of each other. And when the game is over, they still love football. They don't hate each other. They might hate each other's team, but they don't hate each other personally. And I think there's a difference between competing and trying to focus so much on how to take your competition down that you lose sight of the game that matters and the things that are really important to focus on. So there's a lot of different variations to that. But at the end of the day, all of us have to exist for there to be a collective environment for everyone here to succeed. If there's only one option, then there are no options because there's nobody to hold anyone accountable anymore. And I think competition breeds that environment and makes it really exciting to see where things can evolve.
Yeah, and I've always said, it's true. Michael Jordan doesn't exist if the bad boys don't have the Jordan rules and pounded him through the place where then he hired Tim Grover and got better. I mean, competition did make him. And speaking of that, for you, Katie, on this one, Rocket is kind of the standard setter when it comes to marketing and tech. How do you guys scale innovation?
I mean, I think, again, I'm still very new, so I'm still sort of bumbling around a lot of the meetings. But the thing that's been really exciting to me is this constant seeking out of new voices and new people and new ideas. It's a lot of what drew me to join the team in the first place. I think innovation for us at this point is ensuring that every single audience that we feel we should be connecting with is also represented internally within the organization. A big part of my role in coming on is to make sure that every person here has a voice inside of Rocket, where 5 years ago that might not have been the case. I'll be the first person to admit I haven't always been a fan of the company that I work for, but I think through competition and through innovation and through evolution of thought with different leaders, you attract different talent. And for us right now, it's all about understanding each of the micro segments that exist and what makes you great at your job and how we can support that and fuel it. But it takes new voices and it takes new people. And I think there's a really happy marriage between historical context of a company and how you got to where you are and marrying that with new thought and new talent that's coming from different perspectives that can bring something interesting and unique to the table. So that's where we are right now. We've got some cool stuff cooking, but that's what we got.
Yeah, you guys are always on the forefront of tech and all that, so who knows? If Skynet's ever built, I think it'll be built by you guys, that's for sure. Showing my age. Kevin, this one's for you. You've always been very good on social, speaking out, speaking different. What's one mindset shift that you think lenders, people, originators need to do in this new market?
Embrace the change. That's probably the big one. Obviously, Rocket is a huge advocate of the NBA. And so we spend a lot of time with their team advocating for all of us, really. And, Greg, you brought up the brokers are better. I started as a wholesale AE in 01 at First Magnus, and you guys would call me and I'd just get shit done. So I'll tell you that brokers were kind of left behind. And so when I heard brokers are better, I always heard that as a rallying cry. You talk about competition, iron sharpening iron. We got those calls from Anthony Casa, and he's like, "You're a bad guy. You're a bad lender. You're a wholesale lender." Who the fuck are you? Now we're buddies. But he told me I was one of the few guys that didn't actually say anything bad about Matt Ishbia because, I came from wholesale. And so what I said is they've been the best thing for wholesale. They built the best tech. And so they have forced everybody to step their game up and compete. That's why we launched Leo a year ago. It's our new Loan Express originator. So we have a new portal in wholesale. And that's embracing the change. It's a changing landscape. Who would imagine that Katie would be a Rocket, But it's a damn good company, and 1 in 6 loans are there, and they're very well structured. So, I heard a couple panel voices earlier talk about AI, and I know it's like the most overhyped thing in the short term, but in the long run, it's very underestimated. And the people in this room who give a shit, who read books, who come out, who invest themselves, maybe half your team won't be with you in about 3 years. because you'll be utilizing AI, like Kimber said, to aggregate business up to you, who are the producers, who are the strong leaders at your companies that you go back to. And that's a change we have to embrace. I mean, robotic voice AI it's really good. I really think about 20% of the originators in this business are not going to be in this business in about 2 years. And that's because, unless you're at a call center, you don't know if they're calling the lead, calling the person, making the phone calls, getting up before their competition. I mean, we have 800,000 records. Hey, bot, make 800,000 calls by next Friday. And set leads, set appointments, and it has full-blown conversations. So I think everyone here needs to just embrace the change. Progress is not possible without change is another one of our marketing slogans. We totally stole that from Gandhi. But it's a good mindset. Embrace the change.
Greg, for a lot of those that don't know, you were a broadcaster first in your career, correct?
That is
For the
correct.
Cowboys.
Yes.
For the Cowboys.
Yeah, my first job was on the radio in Dallas, working for a sports station, covering the Cowboys.
So you've always had a good front row seat to media because that was your career, branding, obviously, all the great stuff that you're doing out there, leadership. Curious, what do you think the perception of our industry is out there?
I think that we're still paying the price for the financial crisis, and it's bullshit. That's what I think. I still think people are blaming us, even though we just sold the products that were put in front of us, like we had anything to do with it. We were the last to know. We were just doing what we had to do to feed our families. So I think we're still paying that price. I think that it's going to be a minute for that to get better, even though we are, approaching 20 years from that point until now, because so much emphasis was put on blaming us. What can we do about it? I think that when we're out there suing one another, talking shit about one another, claiming one channel's better than the other, all that does is reignites that narrative. And just keep that in mind next time. You think about taking a shot at somebody. It's divisive and not needed, and I think it sets back that tone. We'll get through it. We'll get over it. We're doing amazing things as an industry. But that's your answer, Eddie. I hope that was one you were looking for. I want to also say that I asked Katie if she wore this red on purpose for Rocket. She claims it was a coincidence. I don't know. Just claims.
I promise I did not.
The good news is now all the bars and everyone, just the media, they all just blame tariffs. It's all tariffs. I'm not buying a house. Tariffs. It's all tariffs.
No, that's a very good perspective, and the answer was what you thought it was, because I know that you have a great perspective out there, and you brought up a good point. I say it all the time, and every time, and I don't know if the people in this room have done it, but when they post an LE online and trash another lender, I hope you know, and I've said this, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, we all look like crooks. You think you're doing a great service. That's just your ego because you got beat by somebody. And look, I get it that maybe some lenders charge more than others. I mean, what that argument is, then whoever's the lowest is the best. So please don't post LEs and trash other people online. That, to the point of Greg, the bureaucrats are still there that survived the crash. So that's part of the reason they're still driving us crazy.
That's the thing. They see how we're talking. So if there's a bill, to Bob Brooksmith's point earlier, when they see the different factions and different bodies that represent our industry at odds and not on the same page, it's super counterproductive. It's the same thing with what we put out there in the public domain about each other. And it's not about the channel. It's about the people doing the loans. Do you have integrity? Are you leading in the right way? Worry about that. And if you see somebody else in your channel that's not doing that, reel them in. Tell them you're better than that. And that's how we continue to move ahead.
And Chris, thank you. I remember you hosted me almost 2 years ago at Windsor. Tell us a little bit about that, because I don't think a lot of people know your story, because it was, I think you sold to the bank. Is that correct?
Yeah.
and just tell us a little bit about that journey and how you shifted into wholesale and everything.
Oh, my story. Well, I started off as a mortgage broker. I felt like I was the weak one, but I sold my mortgage shop to a bank in '08. And we created a great relationship, which then led to a successful retail branch, which then led to actually working with banks first, helping banks because they're so terrible at converting and sales, and then it led to wholesale. You guys are way better than the banks, let me tell you. But that, throughout my journey, that it's kind of a weird journey, but I'm so glad that was my path, because I could understand being in wholesale, what it's like to be a broker, what it's like to have relationships, not with thousands of different lenders, but with a handful that you could trust. And I like that. I like that part, but it also is very humble because I remember that part. And I remember that grind. I'm still grinding today, but I definitely remember that grind back then, those days.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of a different grind now.
Yeah.
It's, '08. Whew.
Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah. Oh yeah. And there, Greg was talking about those loans in '06 and '07, and I'm having memories. I remember those days, and the 228s and 327s and the business card loans. The business card loans were a thing.
What's funny is, and something to help you guys learn, because, Greg's got a great point about the products that were put out from us, and they came from Wall Street, even though we were blamed as an industry. There's a great book called Monster out there that literally tells the whole story of how Lehman and everybody got into it. So I think that would be great to educate you guys about how they started in the '90s with seconds and everything like that. So when somebody does give that perception about us, you know how to combat it. So let's talk about competition. What does beyond competition mean to you, Kevin?
Well, just putting originators first, but also being collaborative. Like, when you asked us to come here, it was without hesitation, and I know you've probably heard this 5 times now. Like, my 6th grade daughter has a promotion to 7th grade tonight. I'm missing it. I have 4 kids, last day of school, but I committed to this, and I don't regret it. I hope they don't remember me as being an absentee father. And I did not send flowers. So Amazon Prime won't get it there till Monday, so I'll just pick them up tomorrow when I land. But yeah, I just, I think having an abundance mindset is really the way to go. And I think everyone realizing there's a tremendous amount of business. I mean, there's a lot of business. This is a $2 trillion a year. That's a lot of business. I would have dropped an F-bomb, but I'm trying to cut back. It's a lot of business. And so, yeah, okay, competition, but there's enough for all of us to do really well. And I think having abundance mindset, talking to people, what's working for them, what's not working, and having just legit conversations like this, and then sharing it. I mean, if you guys follow me on LinkedIn, I put out 2 videos a week, and I just talk about my thoughts. I don't really pimp out PRMG on there. Like, I'll talk about like some insights, maybe from like a senior management meeting or something. As an owner, we have some insights on the whole thing, and this side of the business is very different. And so I think being collaborative and just having an abundance mindset is how you go well beyond competition.
Chris?
I think the key word in that sentence is beyond. I mean, I tell people this story all the time, but Eddy and I, and our relationship and how I came down here, flew down to Atlanta to hang out with you for the day, and you flew up to South Dakota. Like, who would fly to South Dakota? And Eddy flew to South Dakota. I was like, wow, he's actually going to come here. But our teams and how our teams are working together, and how they're actually taking that competition word, but I would just say we're working to be better for our client, and all of these brokers across the country. And really, truly, I never even dreamed it, and how much our teams have helped each other, but how much you've helped me. And I hope that I've ever helped you. And that's why this was such an easy yes to come here today.
Yeah, no, and you've definitely helped me. and I know that our teams talk all the time because they'll share some stories about, hey, you got to watch out for this person, fraud, anything like that. And I think that that's what's, to your point, really important when you collaborate because, you and I have done that. So, yeah. Greg.
It starts with leaders like you, Eddie. I'm serious, man. You should be proud of what you brought here. You asked me to come here. 2 seconds, no brainer. Didn't matter because you are a collaborative person. You're an abundance person. And we all have a choice. Are we going to follow people that are abundance people, or are we going to follow people that like to stir a lot of bad energy and create this rhetoric? And there's some wholesale lenders that do that. I think we know who they are. And there's some who don't. And I have a podcast every Monday called One-on-One. It's live at 1 p.m. Eastern. And probably the most insightful, enjoyable interview I've ever done was about 6 weeks ago. I had the privilege of interviewing Varun Krishna from Rocket. And that's a leader. You want to know about a leader? You want to know about collaboration? The guy is opening up his playbook, saying, this is what we see in the future. And he's like, come along for the ride, whether you're Rocket or not. Let's all work together. Let's have conversations. And there's another conference coming up in just a couple of days that Housing Wire is putting on, The Gathering. And Varun's coming there. And when I asked him, why are you going back to Housing Wire? He said, because I've been spending a lot of time doing the dog and pony thing. I now want to spend time in the trenches, getting to know the leaders in this industry. I want to rub elbows, exchange ideas. That's a leader that you can follow. So it starts with identifying with who you want to be associated with. And there's a lot to that. I mean, any of us can put a study together to talk about how your channel's better than another. But at the end of the day, what the hell does that do for the consumer at the end of the day? Probably not that much. It's just a lot of noise. We got to get away from the noise.
Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I think competition starts with curiosity, right? It's this obsession with finding a better way to do something. And the analogy that I use all the time, I was a basketball player. I love basketball. I watched it all the time. You have to have 5 girls on one side of the court and 5 girls on the other. And if you are so obsessed with taking people down that all of a sudden there's only 8 left to play, or 6 or 3, eventually there's only 1, and then I don't get to play basketball anymore. Competing is a privilege. It's an honor to be able to show up every single day and do the thing that you love. And there's a responsibility that comes along with that. There's a requirement to continue to invest in the entire industry and in the channel so that we get to keep competing. Because as soon as we don't have the ability to compete anymore, we're not necessary anymore. There's no competition, there's no necessity. And that's a scary thought. That's the bigger you get, I think, the more the burden of the responsibility truly is. And being able to continue to show up every day and do the thing that you love really sort of stems from having people to compete against and having people to push you and challenge you and find ways to do things differently and to make things better, because that's all of our goal. We want to serve consumers, but we have to compete with each other to make sure that we're serving them in the best way.
You guys all made great points here. Parting shots. Who wants to go first? If you had a magic wand, what's one thing to encourage the crowd to do, or one thing that you think you may want to do for, your consumers, and just share it from there?
I'll go first, not surprisingly. Just a quick message to this community. I mean, you got the hot hand right now. You have the momentum. Stick with that. Stick with the focus. I think that where this industry is going right now with all the innovation, what's going to happen is the cost to produce is going to come down, and loan officer comp is going to come down. And what that's going to do is it's going to benefit your platform. You're capped, yeah, but it's not going to matter anymore because we're not going to be able to play on my side in this atmosphere that we play in, where sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. So, double down on what you're doing. You're doing a great job. I think that you're going to continue to pick up market share, and I'm pretty much in awe of what you've been able to do. In terms of the question of if I could wave a magic wand and get major lenders to work together, and I'm going to tee Katie up for this because I know she's super passionate about this. We're not bringing enough people into the industry. We are totally aged out. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but we've got all these minorities coming up in their communities. They want to be able to do business with people that look and like them and can relate with them, and what are we doing to bring new people into the industry? We got to solve that problem, and we got to start doing it now. And Katie, I know you're super passionate about this, so I'm going to give you the mic.
All right, I'm going next. I do think that's a huge part of it. And I think bringing new people into the industry kind of lays directly into what I was going to mention. And that's just never stop caring. I think it's really easy in this industry to become desensitized to information and to create space and distance and to look at something as a loan and not a person, or to look at it as a business and not economic reinvestment into the community that you live in. And there's a care that every single person here brings to the table. And that starts with finding new people who could benefit from working in an industry like this. There's an abundance of opportunity in lending. And there are so many people who could change the lives of their families by getting into this space. Bring them in. Care about your neighbor, care about your team members, care about the lenders that you work with, care about your competition. The thing that I get so concerned about seeing is when people say, just screw it, I don't care anymore. Oh, whatever. I'm just going to close this loan. I'm going to move on to the next thing. Don't stop caring. Caring is the source of passion. Caring is the source of change. Nothing moves forward. Nothing innovates. Nothing gets better when people stop caring and start focusing more on the math on a piece of paper and less about the people who they set out to serve in the first place. So don't forget that. Don't lose sight of it. Every decision I make with care. People might not always understand the decision at the time, but every single one is done with care. And every single person on this stage can give examples of good decisions they made when they cared and bad decisions they made because they stopped paying attention. So don't stop caring.
Okay. If I had a magic wand, I would tell everybody in this audience right now to stop calling it a database. Like, it's your portfolio. And if you could think of it like your stock portfolio, would you do things different? It is so frustrating to watch many of you have all of these past clients that love you, that like you, that trust you, and you do nothing for them. And if I could just leave you with one thing, and you left it, you went home and you're flying home or wherever you're going to get home, and you're like, wait, that is my portfolio. I've done all of these things for this client to get him to close. Like, I had a loan officer tell me the other day, we date them and then we dump them. I'm like, that was high school for me. I mean, I was the one getting dumped. But I'm telling you, if you want to win, I want you to go look at your business and say, am I treating this like a portfolio, or is this just a database? Because if you could just make that soundtrack change inside your brain, I think it'll change your year.
That's a good one. I've never heard that. That's awesome. I'm going to quote you. I'm going to quote you on that one.
I was totally just about to use the word database. So I'll get a little tactical. On the AI voice thing, don't roll your eyes. It's a big deal. It is a big effing deal. And so your portfolio, obviously we're not going to call your clients. They're your clients. So we've always given back leads, whether it was sales boomerang leads or trust engine leads. We've always used those triggers. And then we have an AE reach out to you and they say, hey, your borrower is cheating on you. So your stock in your portfolio just sold itself. So, we've been working on our new portal for a year. This t-shirt's been on my back for a year. And one of the things that we're rolling out, and this is whether you want to take on the AI voice project at your company, there's some companies here that have developers, engineers, IT, do it. If you don't, lenders are going to help you do it. And what is so important about your portfolio and all your past clients is this is going to be the new trigger lead annoyance, okay? Because that trigger lead bill is going to pass this year. You said it wouldn't. It is, Greg. But the new trigger is an AI bot calling everybody in America all the time and catching them at the right time when we all did not. So what's really important tactically is that you have a proper bar authorization. You are TCPA and CCPA compliant for those in California, because if you're not a servicer, you have a limited window after that loan funds to actually legally without being sued at over $5,000 per instance to go after them. And we don't have that kind of money to spend. So we all need to create an opt-in process for your bot to call when you won't, when you're tired, when you're at 6th grade promotion or Atlanta or wherever you are. And that bot is going to call and have a full-blown live conversation with your bar, and it's going to turn into a loan and convert better than 90% of originators today. And AI is going to get better. It's not going to stop. It's going to get better. So we're all tasked with helping you, whether it's you do it on your own with the advice I'm giving, or whether we help you facilitate it. We are going to help these conversations happen and tee up more business and convert and bring more loans back to where they belong, which is with the originator in their portfolio and in a relationship-based manner. So I don't want to talk about tech and make you think that I don't care about relationships. That's why I'm here, because it's our relationship.
Yeah.
And so you can use AI bots to analyze documents, set calls, all that stuff, but you have to maintain that relationship with every single position in your portfolio, and we're all going to help you do that.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Katie. Everybody, please put a round of applause for them. Thank you.